So let's look at social control. We need to know what it is, what are the types of social control, and then we'll also look at the functions and these functions of social control uh, in a society. And then the fourth objective will be to look at the role of socialization, norms, sanctions, and laws in maintaining social order. That's what we are going to look at. So when you talk about social control, we are basically talking about the mechanisms in place to make sure that people conform to particular norms, values, behaviors, and practices. Okay, we don't want to have people doing things that are not conforming to the societal norms, values, and even practices. So the mechanisms that are there in societies to make sure that people practice acceptable behavior and what we are referring to as social control. Okay, so it means that um, uh, in a society there are things that should be respected, that should not be done. I mean, that should not be violated. Okay, and if violation happens, then people are punished. Okay, that is what we call social sanctions. Okay, because punishments in with the rewards. Okay, so people who do great things, they are rewarded in the society, and then people who do uh, negative things, participate in antisocial behavior or defiant behavior, then they are actually punished. Socialization is a concept that we shall look at in another session, but basically the meaning of it is that it is the process of transmitting norms and values from one generation to the other. So we shall look at the institutions of socialization, the families, the, the religious institutions, and then the educational institutions. Okay, they play a very important role in transferring norms and values from one generation to the other. So social control is very important because you don't want people to engage in activities that are against the societal values and norms. Okay, if we have a situation where people don't follow these norms, then we are going to have a disorder in the society. So you will not have what we call societal order. You will have disorder. And this disorder, of course, has consequences in terms of destabilizing the society. So you want a society to be stable, okay, where people understand what they are supposed to do and what they are not supposed to do. If we have this in a society, it means the society will be stable, they will be cooperating with one another, there will be what we call collective action because people are actually doing things that conform. Okay. Now, if we have a breakdown in social institutions that ensure social control, then we are going to have social disorder, defiance, instability, things like that. These are things that you don't want to happen in society. So, what are the forms of social control? Here we are having two, internal control and external control. Okay, internal control is when uh, an individual regulates their behavior based on internalized norms and practices. Okay, internalization of norms and practices or values means that you have reflected and now made a decision that these are things that I cannot do. Okay, so those are what we call internalized norms. you have decided not to do them, just not because they are sanctions, but it is what you believe you shouldn't do, or it is what you believe should always be done. So that's what we call internalized norms, values, or even beliefs. Okay, so um, as you grow up, there are things that you start to see, and then you reflect on them, internalize them, and then you say, no, for me, I will not engage in ABCD. And then we have what you call external control, the laws by the government. Okay, those prevent us from stealing, for example, committing adultery, uh, rape, uh, murder, corruption. These are formal systems to check on defiant behaviors. And later on, we shall see that actually the laws and the laws, regulations, these and sanctions are often termed as formal, formal forms of social control. Okay, and then we have social pressure. These play an important role in influencing behavior. So, where did the origin of the concept? What is the origin of the concept of social control? So, we are going to look at three individuals: Emily Durkheim, and then Max Weber, and then Talcott Parsons. These are the three people we are going to look at and see what did they talk about uh, social control. What were their ideas on social control? So we start with Emily. For him, he believed that defiance is normal and inevitable part of every society. Defiance, the meaning of the word defiance is doing things against um, what the society believes in. You are always antisocial. Okay, your community defiance and crimes are related things. Okay, so there, for him, he believed that people who will always be against societal norms, values, will always be there. Okay, and it is inevitable. But they play an important role of identifying boundaries for behavior and reinforcing social cohesion. Okay, so he says that if we have social institutions that are broken down, okay, families breaking down, religious institutions breaking down, the educational institutions breaking down, it means it is going to be very hard to control people. Okay, and therefore you will have a situation where a society is not having any norms that are respected, and therefore you will have uh, defiance and pride. Okay, so that means that for people to conform to the accepted societal norms, they might need to be educated. So moral education is very important in promoting social cohesion, okay, and therefore controlling issues to do with crimes and with violence. So the other person is Max Weber. Uh, you have heard Max Weber in the Principles of Management, and he's the one responsible for the theory of management called the bureaucratic theory of management. Okay, so for him, he says that social control is the ability to exercise power over others. Okay, and it is based on authority. And the authority can be categorized into three: traditional, um, charismatic, and legal-rational authority. So traditional authority is exercised by what you can term as traditional leaders. In our context, the traditional leaders, we can talk about uh, the landlords, okay, uh, the chiefs, okay, the elders in the community, the clan head, okay, the head of the clan, or the head of an ethnic group. Those are that is what we call traditional authority. And then we have people who have authority based on their personal qualities. There are people who have the ability to draw people closer to them. We say those are charismatic leaders. They have charismatic authority. Okay. Our religious leaders, for example, the prophets. Okay. Um, our our heroes. Talk about uh, Dr. John Garang. Okay. The revolutionaries. These charismatic leaders. There is a way they attract people towards them. Okay. They inspire and motivate people to pursue a certain goal. And then we have the legal rational authority, authority that is based on law. Okay, so the government, for example, uh, the government has legal rational authority. Okay, the government can punish anyone if they commit a crime based on the laws, and it is legal for that punishment. So that's where we have the prisons. That is where you have people being tried in courts of law. That is what we call legal rational authority. So Max Weber uh, believes that legal rational authority is the most dominant form of social control. This is to say that most people do not behave in a bad way in a society because they know that they can be punished through the legal rational authority. Okay, so that is one point that uh, he emphasized. Okay, and then he also warned that legal rational authority can lead to loss of individual freedom and creativity because people people are being controlled in a certain cage, which he referred to as the iron cage of rationalization and bureaucracy. Talcott Parsons. For him, he says that social control is the process of maintaining social order and conformity with the internal and external needs. Okay, so the social control operates at different levels. Okay, uh, the personality level, the social role, the institution, and the culture. Okay, still, he also agrees that uh, social control involves punishing people, sanctions, rewarding people, and using power to influence their behavior, compliance with social norms, right? Okay, and social control is very important for the stability of the social system, okay, as well as socialization and adaptation. Okay, so we have already looked at the different key personalities and what their views on social control are. And we have looked at the mechanisms that they believe can be used in social control. And we have already hinted on the formal and the informal um, mechanisms of social control. The formal ones, which are basically government related, where we have laws, regulations that are enforced by government agencies. Okay. And then we have informal, where the clan head, the chief, the landlord, these can they can pass traditions, norms, and social customs that they want people to conform to. Okay, so that is informal what? Control. Even for example, the family. Okay, the father will tell his children that for me, I want you to get married in this manner. Okay, if you get married in a way that is going to bring shame to my family, I will disown you. That is informal. Okay, that is informal. Okay, uh, we also have informal mechanisms, for example, that are related to even uh, marriages. Okay, marriages, dowry payment. Okay, you impregnate someone's daughter, and then um, the parents of the girl will will impose a fine for you, to, to the parents of the boy or the because the boy impregnated the girl. That is informal. Okay, it is based on traditions, customs, and social norms. Okay, and then eternal, with the one I explained earlier when I said that there are things as you grow up, you reflect on, you internalize and say, no, this is right, this is wrong, this is something I will do, this is something that I will do. So no one imposes that control on you, but you decide on your own that this is what I need to do. So your conscience tells you ABCD, and then you exercise self-control. Okay, you get you get into situations where it is the um, you are not likely to be reprimanded for the act that you do, but you say no, I won't do that. Okay, so for example, you are 50 years old, and then you say no, for me, I will never marry a girl who is 18 years or 20, and that is your internal control. You if you marry a girl of 20 years and you're 50 or 60, no one will punish you. No one, because the girl is already above 18. Okay, but you said no, I will not do it. Your conscience does not tell you to do it, so you have that self-control. So here, let's look at the, the, the terms that have been used, the norms, the customs, the morals. What do they really mean if, in the informal social control setting? So customs are traditions and practices passed from one generation to the other. For example, how you celebrate birthdays, holidays, family rituals, uh, religious ceremonies. Okay, you can have families where they, if someone passes on, every year they celebrate, or they have some practices that they do after someone has passed on. Issues of inheritance, issues of uh, how to install a heir. Okay, those are customs. And then norms are social expectations for behavior within a particular group or society. Okay, what people expect you to be, how some people, how a particular society or group of people expect you to behave if you're living with them. So it can include issues to do with laws, rules, etiquette, and moral codes. Morals are strongly healthy values and norms that are considered essential for social order. Okay? Things like, for example, incest, sleeping with your close relative. That is against the morals. Murder, theft. Okay? These are uh, these are not moral things. Okay, they are immoral. Then when we talk about traditions, we are basically referring to inherited beliefs and practices that shape social lives. Okay, so for example, gender roles. We have things that women do, and then we have things that men do. These roles are ascribed by uh, our family socialization processes. Okay, so the society knows that a man does this, a woman does that. Okay, and these are basically through family structures. And then folkways, the, 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 the teachings that happen in a family setting. Okay, uh, things to do with table manners, greeting, dress code. These are folkways, these are teachings related to that. So why is it really very important for us to have knowledge about social control and how can we apply it? It helps us to know why defiance happens in societies and crime. So the moment you see, for example, you have a lot of Torontos in Juba, you need to, it helps you to analyze the family institutions, the even the gangs. We have gangs that are actually going to schools. Okay, school going gangs in Juba. It is not something very uncommon. Okay, so when we understand social control, it enables us to relate and correlate why we are having defiance and crimes. Okay, and then it also helps us to analyze social movements and protests, why people can um, can gather with the motive of uh, making sure that certain things don't happen, or making sure that certain things should happen. That's social movements and protests. Okay, it also allows us to understand the role. We need to appreciate the role of social media and technology in social control. There are things that um, have we have accepted as part of our daily lives just because they have been happening on social media. Okay, the dress code. People even people who show what we call public display of affection. People hugging, kissing, in and sharing their moments on social media. These are things that um, in the previous generations were not common. Okay, these were private matters, but now because of social media and things like that, uh, people are all like they are free to exercise some of these things. Okay, and then understanding social control allows us to develop strategies for social change and implementation of public health interventions. Okay, for social control, um, some of the social norms that should be respected are related to activities or behaviors that have an impact on life or on health. Okay, so social norms, some social norms promote healthy behaviors. So as a person who's aiming at promoting health, you need to know what social norms are happening. We also have that aspect of harmful traditional practices. Okay, you need to understand the power dynamics that are associated with harmful traditional practices. what are the power dynamics in, what are the social power dynamics in female genital mutilation. Okay, you cannot design a public health intervention to address the problem of female genital mutilation if you don't understand the underlying social norms and practices and social controls associated with female genital mutilation. So that is why it is very important for us to understand these things. Okay, so that marks the end of this first presentation. And if you have a